Hey guys, what's going on? So today it's going to be a little bit of a talking video, but it's going to be about the future plans of the E46, the engine, what I'm going to be doing basically since I have yeeted the piston and the ring lands. More than likely we'll do a teardown video to be sure. But I've already made a decision and I've already planned um, planned out what I want to do, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. And I wanted to say thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. The giveaway announcement will be coming very, 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 very soon. So thank you so much for that. Getting right into it, I am going with another M54B30, which is what I had in the car before. One thing I do want to say is the failure wasn't due to the engine being weak. I could have pushed it a little further. It was the fact that it was cold, so the tune wasn't adjusted for it being about 30 degrees lower than when I did tune it. That, and I was having wastegate failures. I have the CX Racing wastegate in it right now, currently, and I did at the time as well. So I was running a little more boost than I wanted to for the tune. Not necessarily bad in general, but because I had a stock piston ring gap and I had 93 in the car, it was running really, really, really hot, and then at the same time I probably was running 15, 16, maybe even 17 pounds boost, um, which is a lot for this engine on 93. These engines don't take much boost on the GT3582, which is the turbo I was running, to make good power. I know on similar sized turbos, it only takes about 20 psi to be at that 600 range, um, definitely above 500. So, it doesn't take much. I know people have made, around 500 with 15 pounds boost E85, bone stock, piston, ring gap, and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna blame the engine whatsoever. It wasn't any fault of my tuner, or engine. It was my own fault for running faulty parts, knowing they're faulty, and letting it overboost. So yeah, I'm gonna be running another stock B30 with a lot less miles, which is not gonna matter as much because I'm doing a small bottom end build. I'm gonna be running a few things. I'll kind of start from the bottom up, more or less. Alright, so I'm going to be running Eagle rods. Right now, this is the plan. So I'm going to be running rods. I mean, the reasoning behind this is I'm going to be running stock pistons with a aggressive gap, so that the engine can handle more heat. The next thing to go, once it's gapped correctly, under boost, would most likely be the rods. So I'm going to upgrade them there. And I don't want to spend a ton of money on machining. And what's nice about these rods is if I ever do decide to, machine the block and go with forged pistons or whatever, I'll be able to reuse these. So these will be in there for good unless I break one. But I'm going to be running these rods, and then I'm going to be running upgraded bearings. So I'm going to be using King's bearings. I'm going to be using the King's main and connecting rod bearings. So that'll be nice. They should last, and they should give me a lot of support. For crank, it's got a forged crank. The crank's pretty good. What else? And then I'm also going to be running, more than likely, the racewear head studs. I'm not going to put any inserts in the head until I have an issue. If I have an issue, I will thread and put inserts. A lot of people go with steel inserts because it is an aluminum block, so it's not as strong as the iron block. And so what people do is they will put thread inserts, I'm pretty sure they're called. It's just threaded inserts with a strong material that kind of helps with clamping. For head gasket, I will be running a stock OEM head gasket. The reasoning behind that is I don't think you need anything crazy. And the reason I came to that conclusion is talking to some people that run stock head gaskets with a lot more boost and a lot of power. Um, I'll bring up who in a moment, but it should be good. It will be good. Another reasoning behind that is I blow out a head gasket than have too much pressure and bend a rod. So the person I'm talking about is right here. His name is Boris. We're friends on Facebook. We've talked back and forth quite a bit. He likes to share some good knowledge, and he runs an OEM head gasket in his built M52, and I'll show you his pass right now. Congratulations to him. He's getting really close to the sevens. It's on the end of the season. He was getting really close, but he kind of ran out of time. So I'll show you his So yeah, the car is really fast, and he's running a lot of boost. I'm pretty sure he's in the 40 plus pound. He's running over 40 psi boost. I know he's running a lot of boost, but he's not making all that much power. Probably around 1,000 mark. He just runs a lot of boost and very little timing. He is on a 2-speed glide, I believe now. He used to be on a ZF. He ran low 9s on the ZF. Stock suspension. So it's got, stock, I think stock bushings, pretty much stock suspension, just springs and shocks. And so, he's a really good person to get information off. So if he trusts the stock head gasket, I'm going to trust it too. I just want a little more clamping force, so that's why I'm doing the head studs. So other than that, there's nothing really else I'm going to be doing, just basic, new timing chains, and all that good stuff, new gaskets. And hopefully, I don't know how much power specifically it's going to handle. Here, a little bit of a reference in what I'm trying to go for more than, but it may not happen. This is Alex Fuller. He's another good guy. He's really smart, and he made really good power. So he made 680 wheel horsepower. And this has been confirmed. He's kind of a big name in the E46 and the MS43 community. So he made 680 wheel on a full CX Racing turbo kit. He was single Vanos iron block, but he was using B30 internals. So imagine you're using, an M52 with the same internals that I have in my car. So the only difference, obviously, is the iron block, single Vanos, and then he was also running a different gapped piston ring size, so he was gapped for the boost. And he made 680 wheel. I'll play that right now. So that's on the same size turbo I'm on, a GT3582 rep from CX Racing Turbo Manifold, CX Racing Wastegate, which so far has not been very good, considering the fact that the only reason he had any engine failures, he's built engine now, but the reason is right here. So his wastegate line broke, so not specifically the wastegate itself, but wastegate issues nonetheless. And it boosted around 60 pounds of boost. So it broke some ring lands, and he rebuilt with forged pistons and rods. It was tuned on a stock DME, which is MS43, like I mentioned. So, he had a drift car, a little bit different of an application, but that just proves that the stock internals are pretty good. So I think with the rods, bearings, and then different gap, and then if I get maybe a bigger turbo, the reasoning behind a bigger turbo would be I can run less boost, make a little more top end power, while not pushing the engine as much on the bottom end, which is where there's a lot of load. So that's my reasoning behind wanting a bigger turbo. This is a really responsive turbo. This sizing, it's like a 61 millimeter or so, and it's very responsive and it's really torquey, which is really nice. But I'd like a lot more top end power, especially for drag racing. Until I get a proper end and a proper launch down. If I can't hook, there's no point having a ton of low end power. So if I can trap high and still put a good time down while not running a ton of boost on the bottom end. For now, and then if in the future I ever wanted to, if I went fully built, I could possibly even do nitrous and to spool that turbo up. So that's pretty much the basic plan and kind of the reasoning behind it. It's a lot more than that. I've talked closely with my tuner and a few other people, one-on-one, make sure my setup's actually good and it's a good idea. and most agree that, if I'm trying to push the stock components, rods, I pretty much went in steps like, what do I need to do? What is the next failure besides going with a almost fully built engine? And that would be stopping at rod. So it's still going to be, a thousand or so to do the build, but it's a mild build. We'll see how much power it makes. That's the biggest thing, is I'm not shooting specifically for any power goal. I just want the car to pull really hard. I want it to be really fast, and I want to see how much it'll actually make. I don't think anybody's done just a rods and bearings engine build, and not a lot of people stick with the aluminum block. So I'm curious to see how much it'll make, how long it'll last. That's another nice thing, is the aluminum block. It's really hard to keep it clamped because with the stud options, it's not amazing unless put threaded inserts. But running a bigger turbo may help with I can run less boost, less pressure. So maybe keep it together a little longer. And then also it's a little cheaper to do it this way, and it's a lot more serviceable. If I do end up breaking a piston or doing something like that, it's not a huge loss. I can transfer most of the internals over to a new engine and do basically the same thing, because engines aren't forever. You can build an engine as best as you can, and it's still, you're limited by a lot of things unless you have a lot of money. So another thing, I have a good news. I got a really, really good deal, and this is going to help with making a lot of power. Before, I was on the Stage 3 FX Racing clutch, which held up fine. It didn't slip at all. It actually did really well for the price points, $240, 270 shift or so. And it did really, really well. I was really surprised. I was really happy. Never gave me any issues. I installed it correctly, and I took my time. But at the end of the day, it did really well. I got a really good deal. Got a really, really good deal on a clutch. A really nice clutch. So, sold to me. Mike Dodge, he's really cool. He's got a YouTube, and he actually runs a company named Seems Legit Garage, which is the M50 intake manifold adapter kit that I'm using. It's got some really good parts, so go check him out. I got a really, really good deal on a really cool clutch. So this is a triple disc from Tilton. And this is, you can read, it'll handle more than 900 foot-pounds of torque. And it's splined for my transmission I'm putting in, which is a ZF. And I got my new drive shaft, which I did purchase used from him, Mike Dodge. I just got the drive shaft in. It looks good. So I should be able to put the transmission in. But the engine's kind of done for, so it'll be a little longer. But if things were going to go how I wanted them to, if the engine was still good, I would have been able to put the ZF transmission and this clutch in. So yeah, it is a triple disc. Obviously, it's used, but it's pretty much, it's about $2,500 new, if not more. It's got a steel flywheel, and it measured. It looks all good and everything. Along with that, I also got an IRP shifter from him, and that thing is really cool. So I'll show you actually the shifter I did get. I got it from him as well, but this is the version 3. I believe I have the version 2, but they're more or less the same. Version 2. Here we go. It's made by IRP, but obviously sold on eBay. It's about $450. But this is a really, really cool shifter. It's got reverse lockout, and it's just super, super rad. So I got a really, really good deal on it. Sticking with that budget build, one of my biggest recommendations is don't be afraid to get used parts, especially when you're paying a fraction of what you would have for a new one. And a lot of people think that a new part that's kind of a mid-level price is better than a used part that's a lot more expensive. I've spent a lot more money than I'd like to admit buying a cheap part new and then having to replace it, and I end up replacing it with a really good deal, expensive part. My wastegate, I got a really, really good deal on that. I got a really good deal on this clutch and flywheel. I'll just say I paid less than $1,500 for the full clutch kit, which comes with a billet throwout bearing, I believe, and it also came with a shifter. So I think I got a really, really good deal, and that was shipped. And then also, this is a 7-pound flywheel. So the thing's going to rev really fast. It's going to put down the power, and I'm gonna be able to shift very, very quickly. So that's really cool. And that's pretty much the plans. That's some new parts I've got, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a little different, just talking, but going over the setup and going over what I'm going to be doing in the future. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, maybe learned a couple things. It's pretty cool to see people pushing stock BMW internals past, 680 wheel horsepower. That's an incredible figure for stock internals. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. The next video should be out shortly. It's going to be about how I'm pretty much getting a free engine and how to make money parting out cars. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. It's kind of a down-to-earth, not like... So stay tuned if you're interested in that. If you have any questions, actually throw them below. I'm going to be doing a Q&A soon. I might just do a live stream, but I'm not sure. So just throw your questions you might have below, and I'll be happy to answer them. I'll answer them pretty much right away, and then I'll also put them in the video. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.